Recording in progress. Good afternoon. It is now 2:07 p.m. and I'd like to call the Richland County Strategic Planning Ad Hoc Committee meeting to order. Madam Clerk, can you take the roll, please?
Pugh,
Here.
Little,
Here.
Livingston,
Here.
Barron,
Here.
Mackey.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Next is our approval of minutes from February 11th, 2025.
So move, Madam Chair.
Second.
A motion and a second for approval. Is there any discussion? Madam Clerk?
Pugh,
Yes.
Little,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Barron,
Yes.
Mackey.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Next is our adoption of the agenda. Administrator Brown, do we have any additions or deletions this evening?
No requested changes.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second. There's motion and a second. Madam Clerk?
Pugh,
Yes.
Little,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Barron,
Yes.
Mackey.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you. Before we get into our items for action this afternoon, I do want to start off by briefly asking for apologies for being late starting this meeting. I did have a phone call that I needed to take, but typically try to start our meetings on time, so please forgive me this afternoon for that. And then I wanted to recognize some of our colleagues that are attending our committee meeting today that aren't on our committee, but we always love having you in attendance. Councilwoman Terratio, Councilman Weaver, Councilwoman Aileen, thank you. And then do we have someone online? No? All right. So item 4A, items for action are critical infrastructure projects, general obligation bonds. Administrator Brown, will you be leading this or ACA Thomas or?
I'm going to have ACA Thomas initially walk through the process of the information in your packet.
Thank you. ACA Thomas, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for allowing me a little bit of your time this afternoon. I want to walk back, if you will, to our January Strategic Planning Forum meeting and some of the discussions that we had about critical infrastructure projects and the ways that the county might be able to consider addressing those, and give you a little bit more background on that and some opportunity for further discussion. If you recall, during, as you'll find on pages 9 through 11 in your packet in the informational briefing, there were two projects that we actually discussed that could be accomplished within our current debt capacity with the county. One being a new emergency operations center that would provide enhanced emergency response to the residents of Richland County. It would facilitate coordinated responses to emergencies, reducing response times and mitigating impacts on residents during times of despair. Additionally, there was the special housing unit at Alvin S. Glenn Detention Center. This facility would be designed to ensure that detainees receive appropriate care. It would reduce incidents of violence at the facility and promote rehabilitation, thereby enhancing overall community safety. With this, we would also seek other funding options for this, but by doing so, it could potentially delay these projects. So if you would go to page 12 in your packet, I'll walk through the documents that were distributed again at the Strategic Planning Forum, and I'll be happy to entertain any questions during that time. On page 13, you will actually recall that these were actually projects that were to address three specific strategic goals of the county. One, to plan for growth through inclusive and equitable infrastructure, to achieve a positive public engagement, and to establish operational excellence. On the following page, it describes the Emergency Operations Center budget and the project thereby. The original budget for this facility was $36 million. However, we do believe that there are other funding mechanisms and some design engineering that would be able to reduce the cost of this project to potentially $30 million. The scope would be to build an emergency operations center to house all emergency medical and emergency services staff. And we were currently at that time working to identify a location and update cost proposals for design and construction. The estimated time for design and construction on this project is 3 years, and there are some alternatives that could be discussed for location of that facility. On the next page, which is page 15, you will see current Emergency Operations Center statistics and details about their current location, which is, if you've never been there, is in the basement of the parking garage at 2020 Hampton. And that facility is only about 22,000 square feet for all emergency personnel.
ACA Thomas, I'm sorry, could you just pause for a minute? I really want to make sure that folks have a clear, distinct understanding of our Emergency Operations Center and what happens there versus our maybe public safety complex.
Yes, ma'am. The Emergency Operations Center is the center that's in use for emergency operations for the county. I'll give you a good example, the 2015 flood. When these types of issues arise, counties become the center of the emergency services for all residents of the county, with all local governments coming together in that facility. This is where all of your decisions are driven and where many of you might spend quite a bit of time for a period of time. So it should be designed to enhance communications. It should be designed to be accessible in the event of a disaster, being placed such that the accesses are multiple, and that you would be able to sustain more than one potential disaster in that facility without being harmed. The public safety complex, on the other hand, is actually where your 911 operators operate from. That's strictly a call takers and dispatch facility, not the emergency operations center. While one may drive the operations of another, they are not interchangeable.
Thank you. And just for our new council members or those in general that want to know, Director Michael Bird is our director of our Emergency Operations Center and has been with the county, I don't know, over 30 years?
Almost 50.
Ooh,
Somebody around here got me beat on what you're doing, that's Mike.
thank you. It's on record now. I wouldn't have guessed that.
Neither would I.
But he has done a great job for many years managing and leading our Emergency Operations Center. So I just wanted to make sure we put that out there so folks could put that together with him when they think about Director Bird.
Yes, ma'am, and he's been an integral part of these discussions. I've also enclosed in the package on page 16 some pictures of our current operations center. While I did not go inside because I just didn't feel that was appropriate, I did want you to realize exactly where it sits. And if any of you have not had a chance to visit that center, please let us know. We'd be happy to arrange that so that you could see what benefit this facility might provide to both the decision makers and leaders of the county as well as the citizens of Richland County. On the next page is a description of the proposed detention center building. The budget for this project would be approximately $40,233,119. It would be a 3-story, 288-bed building on the current site of the detention center. The preliminary cost proposal for the design and construction were received from Mosley Architects, who does quite a bit of work in the detention arena, and the estimated time for design and construction of this building is also about 3 years. If you also recall, during that time that we were together at the Strategic Planning Forum, we talked about how this project might be funded. The next page actually shows you the funding model for this issue. This would be issued against our 8% debt capacity. It would be approximately $70,000. And in the orange there, you would see what this new debt would add to the cost or to the funding of our debt service millage. As you can see, that with the line that's there, it falls well below what we actually have in debt capacity. So there would be this would generate no need for additional taxes for residents.
And if I could, just because someone may be listening, she said 75,000, but she meant 75 million.
Sorry, just a few numbers. I wish we could build it for $75,000. We actually, in the proposal, have only requested an issue of $70 million because we do believe that there are some savings that we can garner by doing some new engineering on the facility. I can go to the next page, please. With that, I'm happy to take any questions that you may have.
Recognize Councilman
In
Livingston.
reference to the debt chart you just showed us, that's based on us appropriating the same amount we're appropriating right now for the debt millage in the budget every year?
That is correct. Currently, in our previous budgets, we have issued 10 mills for debt service that is allocated to pay debt, and that is set by the auditor.
If that's all we do over the next however many years this debt is, it'll be covered.
That's correct. As a matter of fact, we will then begin to pay off more debt and would have additional capacity also. There would be initially still about $7 million in capacity that could be issued for any other emergent needs.
Yes, thank you.
Recognize Councilwoman Bear.
Thank you. I just want to make sure that I'm tracking correctly. And that is, what you presented were those two projects, and then those two projects, based on what the question that Mr. Livingston asked, that means that we could do both of these projects and it would not negatively impact our general fund budget or negatively impact our debt ratio, whatever I'm trying to say right now.
It would not negatively impact our debt millage rate. It would not increase that.
For both projects.
Correct.
Thank you.
Councilman Weaver.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Thomas, I do have a question on the Emergency Operations Center. Are we talking about like taking all the ambulances and everything away from 2020 Hampton?
The plan would be to transition all emergency services away from 2020 Hampton.
Okay,
This is a highly congested area. Moving them to a more accessible area that does not run into such high traffic volume would be optimal.
okay. And is there, assuming that happens, what's the plan for that parking lot? Do we know that yet, or has that been discussed, or?
It's still a public parking lot for the building.
Okay, so it'd be open to the public. Maybe we can get rid of some of our street meters then if that happens. I'm sure that would go over well in the public. All right, my other question is, you said you were looking for land. Have we looked at Columbia Mall area?
We do have land in the Columbia Mall area, but we also have other land that the county has looked at also.
A whole lot of parking already at Columbia Mall. That'd be cheap. Go ahead, Mr.
Madam.
You recognize Mr. Brown.
So the Emergency Operations Center, you would not want that to be in a hub where you have multiple people gaining access. So you would not want the facility where you go to make decisions in the middle of a disaster and then have general public members be next door or right down the street. So the emergency services part that when you're thinking about ambulance, that's
Okay.
one question, but the operations center really should be in an environment where it is free from access to the general public.
Okay.
And allow for emergency response and emergency mitigation to happen, because you're talking about if there's a true disaster, having you potentially as council maybe need to come to that facility, maybe be there for more than a 12-hour cycle. And again, you would not want to just have any and everyone readily accessible. So you wanted a place that is, again, not in the middle of your center of traffic. And Columbia Place Mall is a nice hub for a lot of traffic to pass through and around that area.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Any additional questions? Comments? Well. Okay, go ahead, Councilwoman Bear.
So, we have this information, and now that we have this information, I guess my thought is that it's here in this committee, and as it is here in this committee, then obviously it's listed for an action item. And so with that, it is the hopes that this body would take action so that it could be moved to full council. Is that correct, Madam Chair?
Yes, ma'am. That's exactly where I was going next, now that we finished our discussion. This item is a follow-up from our strategic planning forum. The information was presented there as a kind of a solution to what we know we need with improvements with our Emergency Operations Center, as well as the, no, it was in the sheet. And so at this point, we do need to take action to move forward from this committee. And so I would entertain a motion at this time.
Madam Chair,
A motion and a second. Any further discussion?
So,
Yes, ma'am.
so, you know, we formally or informally made a motion as a so moved, but I think that it'd be helpful so that what are we moving to do? Because I think that we could move to do a lot of things, so
a
I'm.
motion is forward to full council for consideration.
Or as it's presented today. Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Barron, for the clarifying question. So the information was presented at the Strategic Planning Forum. It was presented there. If you all remember, we had the financial expert come in from First Tryon who gave us a complete model and rundown, and you see that on the page in your packet. And then since then, there's been opportunity to have questions or seek additional information. At this time, as we move towards looking at preparing our budget for next year and these improvements that we know we need for our capital projects, the need is growing every day. It's not reducing. And so we are at the point where we need to make a decision. And Ms. Barron, for that clarifying point, the decision would be to accept the staff's recommendation for this funding model to move forward with general obligation bonds that would go towards the Emergency Operations Center and other projects listed here. So the motion would be to move forward with the general obligation bonds to move forward with our capital improvement projects. Thank you.
Just quickly make sure everybody's clear on the Emergency Operations Center. I've been locked into that place twice. And I think the best way to think of it is like a war room, someone flying missiles everywhere and all, and you locked in this room where nobody can get to you, so you can make all these decisions, do these things, and so forth. So it gets kind of crazy, and that's why it needs to be in a location where it needs to be, and not easy accessible and so forth.
And also, I want to clarify, because I misspoke earlier. I said Emergency Operation Courthouse. It's Emergency Operations in Alvinus Glen Detention Center. So I did want to clarify that. I was looking at a different thing when I spoke. Thank you. I appreciate it. My good buddy, he was trying to whisper to me, and I didn't know what he was saying. All right, so we're still in discussion, and I heard Mr. Livingston make a clarifying motion saying that you wanted to send this to council for consideration.
For approval, the committee, approval from the committee, yes.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is a motion for approval of the infrastructure project's general obligation bonds. The second came from Ms. Little? Is your second still stand? Any further discussion? Ms. Newton online? I don't see her hand, so I think she's okay. All right, Madam Clerk?
Pugh,
Yes.
Little,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Barron,
Yes?
Mackey.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next are items for information. 5A is our project status update on our county website. As you all remember, the county website is something that we all are passionate about, and getting a new one, and the project began, and so I thought it'd be appropriate for us to get an update. So Administrator Brown?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Brian's going to come down from Information Technology and provide the status of the website update. If you could remind the council members who are present who you are and your position, and please proceed with the update.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Brian Fitzgerald, the Deputy CIO here at Richland County. I I can give you a little bit of background on the website project if that helps, and then answer any questions you might have.
Well, the important thing, can you start with when will it be completed? That's what everybody really wants to know, so just start with that first.
Absolutely.
And then,
Yeah, the short answer is July. The long answer is July because we have our current DNN product, which is our content management system. The support ends in August 1st, so we really need to get this wrapped up in July.
awesome. Yeah, so any other high-level information you want to share would be
Okay.
great.
Sure, sounds good. So we started this effort back in the fall. The first thing we did was assemble a steering group to help make decisions and guide the process. That group was comprised of members from IT, PIO's office, admin. We had Anette, Ashia. We also had, we included Dr. Harris and Vanique from HR once we got into the content part of the process. We selected the vendors Granicus, as you may recall. That approval went through in the fall, and things have been going really well. We were off and running. The first step was to complete the wireframing for the new site. So we talked about the layout, where we would like to see things on the new site. And then we did a lot of analytics and background, some homework on our current site, the use, where our citizens are going on the site, and how we may be able to improve that. The new site will be more services-oriented instead of department-oriented. Citizens, if they're looking for a permit, they might not know to go to the planning and development services department. They would just say, I need to get a permit. So the design is being restructured in a more modern way, a best practices way. So once the wireframing was complete and what they call the information architecture, which is essentially designing the menus and the layout of the site, the Granicus team is off and running with developing the beta product. So they're taking our current Richland County branding and applying it to the wireframes that we approved as a group. So that's being done now. We should have a beta or a site that we can look at, share sometime in April, we think. And then, as I had said, July is the go live.
Thank you. Any questions? Councilwoman Barron?
So we do have the layout and I guess the roadmap as to what's going on. I know we have go live dates, but I'm assuming periodically we'll get to see it behind the scenes. Where's that stand in the timeline?
Yeah, so the Granicus team is assembling the full content migration now. So what that means is we've given them about 300 or 400 pages that will be converted over from our current site, modernized, and put into the new design. And so that's being done now. And then between April and the go live, we will continue to massage that, get feedback from departments, from y'all, from other stakeholders to try to polish it before the July 30th go live.
I do appreciate the opportunity to be able to massage it, as you say.
Of course.
Because we know in that phase, a lot of kinks, and then also as we had in the strategic forum in January, even with Director, name just went out my head, Carter. Thank you, Mr. Brown. We were able to take a look at the app and the device that she had us, just kind of playing with to give feedback, and that was, I think, for me, I was able to see, okay, this is how I need to communicate with my constituents, how to complete it. But then from her perspective, she did share that the information that, the feedback we gave to her, kind of took a whole different turn even for that. So I hope that we would have enough time and multiple opportunities to do the same thing, because this has been something that we've really been working on and really would like to see it be user-friendly and be that thing that one of those things that we can be really proud of, noting that, it's probably not going to be the first time that we go live and we'll have to make some changes, but I would love to have that opportunity a couple of times for us to kind of play around with it.
Of course, yeah, thanks for the feedback. One thing I'll say is that the new site will be mobile first. Something like 60% of our citizens, our users, are on a phone. And so the new website will be very mobile centric, and we'll try to make all of the services as mobile savvy or friendly as possible. We're also in parallel, since the strategic forum, looking at the CRM, which is the citizen request system, and any ways that we can improve that as well.
Any further questions? Thank you so much for the update, and thank you
Sure.
to your team and the rest of the county staff that participated and just keeping this on schedule. This is something that we're happy to soon be able to check off as completed on our strategic plan, so thank
Yeah,
you.
thanks very much. Thanks for your support.
Next is 5B, the solid waste collection area map with council district overlay. If you look in page 21 of your packet, this is another follow-up to our strategic planning forum. During that session, we did have several takeaways. Some were action items and some were things that required further discussion. And this was one of them. There was a lot of conversation around solid waste and recycling, what those service areas were, where they overlap with districts. And, as we look forward to how to improve or better serve our constituents when it comes to solid waste and complaints, there was discussion around, do we need more service areas or not? But this is really an information piece for folks to have a visual understanding of where we are right now as we look to future discussions. Administrator Brown, is there any additional information you wanted to add with that?
No, Madam Chair, it was just as you described.
Any questions about this map at all for anyone? Okay. Next item on our agenda is item 6, adjournment.
So move, Madam Chair.
Second.
A motion, a second for adjournment. Madam Clerk?
Pugh,
Yes.
Little, Yes. Livingston,
Yes.
Barron. Yes. Mackey.